In Venezuela, citizens mobilized in support of Nicolas Maduro's government and to reject the far right's conspiratorial actions. In Iran, Ayatollah Seyed Ali Jamenei criticized the wrong stances that Islamic countries sometimes adopt when confronting Israel. Turkish parliament deputies voted Tuesday in favor of Sweden's accession to NATO. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Venezuela, citizens mobilized in support of the government of President Nicolas Maduro and in rejection of the conspiratorial actions of sectors of the extreme right. The leadership of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela announced this mobilization as the first stage of the Bolivarian Fury Plan and that they will have a series of marches starting this Tuesday and will continue until February 4th. Some spokesman revealed that the mobilization is nationwide and in the city of Caracas it will start from the east zone to the center of the capital. They also explained that the mobilization will be so that there will be no more betrayals to the people, but also in rejection to the COP, to terrorism, to violence, to the Guarimba, and for the peace of all Venezuelans. In Venezuela, they commemorate 66 years of the fall of the dictatorship of General Pérez Jiménez and to vindicate the martyrs of that memorable feat. The fall of the dictatorship was the result of the union of the people and the military leaders of the time, who rose up against the government of Marco Pérez Jiménez, against liberalism, against the violation of human rights, and to recover the country's democracy. After the overthrow of the military dictatorship, every January 23rd since 1958 is commemorated as the Day of Democracy, a day that marks the history and the political and social identity of the Venezuelan people. And in the images we are seeing that the mobilization of Venezuelan revolutionary forces is passing through a sector controlled by the opposition, in which its leaders also made a call, and there were demonstrations of this on this historic day. Likewise, the people of Venezuela are demonstrating in spite of the differences of thought and political leadership, and in spite of the expression of the extreme right wing of the country. During the mobilizations, Venezuelan citizens demanded social rights and expressed their support and backing to the President Nicolas Maduro in favor of peace. Let's see.
A bipartidist dictatorship where the Venezuelan people had no social and civil rights, and thanks to the Bolivarian Revolution, today we restore it, and our commander Chavez, and we continue it with President Maduro 25 years later.
We are here in the capital city of Caracas, celebrating another anniversary of a step towards democracy. With the events that occurred on January the 23rd, 1958. However, that step towards democracy was betrayed by the Pact of Fixed Point. Today, the socialists, the Chavistas, the revolutionaries are here marching in support of our democracy, in support of peace, and also in support of our President Nicolas Maduro, and especially in this historic moment when our homeland feels threatened by imperial interests. Today we say that we are a people of peace.
Demonstrators from a mix of social groups gathered outside the residence of Argentina's President Javier Milei on Tuesday to demand for more state aid. The rally comes a day before trade unions and political forces called for a strike against the government's economic reforms. The demonstrators demanded more food, tools, and infrastructure for the soup kitchens they run in the private neighborhoods. President Milei is pushing for a drastic reduction of the fiscal deficit with a range of austerity measures that has put trade unions, left-wing parties, and popular sectors on the warpath. The opposition-aligned grassroots social movement Barrios de Pie and other social organizations maintain that more and more people suffer from an emergency situation amid skyrocketing food prices and the lack of formal work.
Our concern is that food is lacking. There is already hunger in our people then, and we see that the government does not announce public policies for our sector. The only thing it announces for this sector is a heavy hand. Tomorrow there will be a forceful mobilization where the entire people will come out. Not only to repudiate, but to demand that this austerity law not pass through Congress.
In Cuba, since the upcoming weekend and until January 28th, the 39th edition of the International Jazz Plaza 2024 Festival will entertain the Nights of Havana and Santiago de Cuba with concert programs that includes instrumentalists and singers from more than 20 countries of the Americas, Europe and Asia. From Havana, our correspondent Fabiola Lopez tells us more about it.
For a week, Havana will once again have jazz as its soundtrack. The amazing Martí Theater is just one of the many stages where jazz lovers from all over the world will be delighted during these days.
We open the doors, we want to show our culture, we want to show our identity, our Cuban culture, and that our music can be perfectly combined with jazz, just like the great master did, Chico Farril, Chano Pozo, all those great masters who opened the doors for us, Chucho Valdés, Gonzalo Rubalcaba. So I think it makes a difference. It makes a difference that we Cubans like to share what we have, little or much, what we have we shared, and that is what is needed, that is what jazz is. It is sharing as a whole.
The Centenary Martí Theater is crowded. Tonight, a luxury cast is presented. The pianist and composer Arturo Farril, the string quartet Alma, the composer and music arranger Alejandro Falcón, the U.S. saxophonist, flautist, and jazz composer Ted Nash, and the trio Cuba Adentro.
I think Cuba has something sexy. It has something that says that everyone wants to come to Havana to know what the Cubans have. They are so talented, they have so much salsa, and it is still a country that people want to discover. So when you get here, you realize that there is so much accessibility to culture that is so close to you that you really don't see in any country. Really, the work that is being done in art school is wonderful, and everyone who comes here can enjoy it in first hand.
This time, the International Festival Jazz Plaza 2024 makes a difference with the fusion of music and dance. On this occasion, the dancers of the Mapaso Company delight the audience.
Afro-Latin music, the music of Cuba, the music that we are celebrating in this festival is the music of the future. When there are no borders, there are no wars. Here we are practicing modern music.
Will be intense days that include two international conferences, one in Havana and another in Santiago de Cuba, to exchange on jazz. 184 concerts in the capital and 74 in the most Caribbean of Cuban cities with more than 150 artists from 21 countries, including 92 from the United States, and all, as the slogan of the event says, flow at our own rhythms. Some people say that without Cuba there is no jazz. Is that true?
That may be true. I mean, Cuba has all the elements of jazz, the Afro rhythms and the European harmony that jazz has. So, who's to say who's first, the chicken or the egg? But I think Cuba might be the winner.
Jazz is freedom, jazz is the mixture. It is something that characterizes us. There is musicians, improvisation is very important, and about all because we share with each other, we listen to each other, we learn from what this musician does. When we are going to play and improvise in jazz, we have to be aware of what the other is doing. It is like a great brotherhood. Jazz gives you a way that you can feel yourself in many moods, and those moods can be sent at a time like this. You can go from one state of mind to the next. All of that is right now in jazz, and you can create them in a way, and it is magic.
The truth is that the next night on this island will be fantastic. According to the great musician and founder of this festival, Bobby Carcassés, Jazz Plaza has a unique feeling that captivates.
Fabiola López, teleSUR, La Habana.
Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. In Palestine, at least 195 civilians were killed by the Israeli occupation forces during the last 24 hours in the Gaza Strip. According to the Gaza Health Ministry, these assassinations took place during 22 massacres perpetrated by troops of the Tel Aviv regime in the last 24 hours, most of them in the city of Khan Yunis, where the Zionist army is concentrating its offensive and is holding the two main hospitals in the area, Nasser and Al-Amal, on the siege. According to the health authority, these acts also left 354 wounded, while warning that these figures could be even higher since numerous victims are still under the rubble. According to the latest count by the Gaza Health Ministry, 25,490 Palestinians have been killed by Israel since October. In Iran, Ayatollah Seyed Ali Jamenei criticized the wrong stances that Islamic countries sometimes adopt when confronting Israel. During a speech in Tehran on Tuesday, the Iranian leader said that Islamic countries should cut off the vital arteries of the Zionist regime. Jamenei remarks that these countries should cut off their political and economic relations with the Zionist regime and not help Tel Aviv. Ayatollah Jamenei also stressed that despite the inadequate actions of the officials of the Islamic countries and all the difficulties, the ultimate victory belongs to the people of Gaza. According to the Israel Regime Security Studies Institute, Hamas is keeping Israel under a prolonged war of attrition so that the Zionist regime is far from achieving its goals.
Muslims say there must be a ceasefire. Well, a ceasefire is not in your hands. It rests in the hands of that wicked enemy, Israel. It doesn't make a ceasefire. You sit down and ratify something that is not under your control. There are things that are in your hands, but you don't ratify them. What is that? Cutting off vital veins to the Zionist regime. This is in your hands. You can stop helping and supporting Israel. You can sever political and economic ties with Israel.
Spain Foreign Minister José Manuel Álvarez called on Tuesday in Beirut for an immediate and permanent ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. The Spanish top diplomat also called for the release of all hostages after a meeting with Lebanon's caretaker Prime Minister Najib Mikati. Álvarez also said Spain believed a peace plan must include the recognition and establishment of a viable Palestinian state with Gaza and the West Bank under a single authority. On the other hand, Prime Minister Mikati thanked Madrid for its constant support for Lebanon on all levels, while praising the role of the Spanish battalion operating within the United Nations interim force in Lebanon. The Spanish Foreign Minister arrived in Lebanon on Tuesday on an official visit.
We ask for an immediate and permanent ceasefire, and we ask for the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages. As you know, the International Peace Conference is a Spanish proposal, and therefore we will be an active country in the development of the peace plan presented yesterday by the High Representative of the European Union, Josep Borrell, at the end of the Foreign Affairs Council meeting. The recognition and establishment of a realistic and viable Palestinian state with Gaza and the West Bank under a single authority, with territorial continuity, with a corridor connecting them, with an outlet to the sea and a port in Gaza, with its capital in East Jerusalem.
The United Nations Security Council is holding a high-level open debate Tuesday to discuss the Middle East conflict while the region is considered a powder keg by the Secretary General himself. The ministerial meeting brings together foreign ministers and world representatives amid the worsening situation for civilians in Gaza, hostilities over the Red Sea or West Bank, and rising tensions between Iraq and Iran. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres again called for redoubled efforts to prevent the conflict from spreading further. He said he would not relent in his call for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire and the unconditional release of all hostages in the Strip. We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news, coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. Final short break. Don't go away. Welcome back. Turkish parliament deputies voted Tuesday in favor of Sweden's accession to NATO. The approval comes 2 years after Stockholm, together with Helsinki, applied for membership in the US-led alliance. Despite the approval of the Nordic countries' NATO membership, some politicians oppose Sweden's membership in the alliance, claiming that not all of Ankara's demand regarding the extradition of Kurdistan. Likewise, the deputies cited the burning of the Koran as a reason for rejecting Stockholm's request. Sweden and Finland applied to join the NATO in May 2022. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan then raised a number of objections to both applications on the grounds that both countries were protecting groups labeled as terrorists by Ankara. The Italian parliament debated on Tuesday the ratification of a controversial government decree to build detention and processing centers for migrants in Albania. Under the 5-year agreement announced in November, Albania will host up to 36,000 migrants for a year, about 3,000 a month, among those trying to reach Italy without visas, most of them on dangerous sea crossings. Albania would house the migrants in 2 facilities while Italy fast-tracks their asylum applications. The proceedings centers will be managed by Italian officials, with Albanian guards providing security around the centers. Italy has committed to pay for the construction and operation of the 2 centers under Italian jurisdiction. A car rammed into a roadblock put up by protesting farmers in the southwestern French department of Ariège on Tuesday, killing a woman and seriously injured her husband and teenager daughter. According to local police, the vehicle was traveling on the dual-lane carriageway leading to the roadblock, despite it being clearly marked as closed to traffic because of the protest. The 3 occupants of the car were taken into police custody on suspicion of involuntary manslaughter. However, the local prosecutors said the early results of the investigation suggested that the car had not rammed the barrier intentionally. The farmers have been blocking roads across the country in protest at what they say are deteriorating conditions in the agricultural sector. In Germany, at least 10,000 jobs in the construction sector could be cut amid the energy crisis. The Industrial Construction Association affirms that this is the first time that the reduction of personnel will be significant since the international financial crisis of 2008, in which more than 700,000 workers lost their jobs. The organization points out, among other causes of this situation, the drop in income from housing construction and the reduction of purchasing power. On the other hand, the increase in energy prices as part of the measures implemented by the government to face the current economic crisis. Also in Germany, citizens took to the streets in protest against the actions of the extreme right wing led by the ultra-conservative party Alternative for Germany. The news unleashed criticism and discontent among the citizens after the possible deportation of some migrants with German citizenship was revealed. Finally, local media reported that at least 100,000 people in the cities of Frankfurt, Hanover and Dortmund mobilized in favor of democracy in the country and rejected the attacks of the far right. Russian President Vladimir Putin said on Tuesday that the foundation of the El Dabaa nuclear power plant is a new stage in the construction of a nuclear power plant in Egypt. The statement was made through a video link during the El Dabaa nuclear power plant's foundation laying ceremony, which was presided over by Egypt's President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. The plant will be built by the Russian state's nuclear energy corporation, Rosatom. During his address, Putin said Russia will contribute to the creation of modern industry, qualified jobs, and the solution of social issues. The Russian president also described the new project as a truly flagship in the best tradition of the two nations' bilateral cooperation. We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok. For Telesur English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.